Hey, everybody. We are the Serious Film Critics. Welcome to our show. My name is Sam.
And I'm David.
All right, we got a pretty big episode to get to tonight. It's a windy late night recording we got here. Are you getting like crazy winds down your way, Dave?
Oh, yeah, some of the traffic lights were out.
Oh, were they? Actually, I heard was like a main road in La Plata closed or something.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't. I know the Harry Nice Bridge got shut down, so.
Oh my God, yeah. We had some pretty bad ones up here. I think like people are calling out of the show tonight, like canceling their tickets because I guess like in Philly a bunch of stuff went down or something. So it's pretty windy out there, guys. Pretty windy. It's a nor'easter.
Yeah, I actually thought the movie theater, saw the movie today, because one of the theaters I was going to go to said that they were having power problems and I wasn't sure if this one was going to make it or not.
Oh, man, that would have sucked if the movie went down and you didn't get to finish it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Alrighty, well, it's a big episode tonight, guys. This is episode 24, and this is our pre-Oscar episode. We've got a lot of good stuff for you. We're going to be doing a quick What We Watch segment. We're going to be talking about Annihilation today. We have a nice big review of that. And then we're going to be doing some Oscar stuff, and then we're finishing off this bad boy with our top 10 movies of 2017. We figured we'd do it now. It's a good time as any. You know, we're about to have the Oscars for 2017, so you're going to see what movies we consider to be the best of the best. So stay tuned, and yeah, it's going to be a good one. So, all right, I guess I want to kick things off. What have you been checking out lately, Dave?
Yeah, actually been, there's a lot of Netflix originals going up. We're actually going to be doing Mute soon, so.
Oh, yeah. It's coming next. Can't wait to talk about that one.
Yeah, Cactus Bill. They should just call the movie Cactus Bill because the movie's about him.
I can't wait. I still haven't watched it yet, but the fact that Paul Rudd is in it and named Cactus Bill is just the best.
Yeah, he's a bad guy. He has a big old mustache, handlebar mustache. And
I was going to ask if you had any facial hair.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he fits Cactus Bill pretty well, and he carries his big knife around.
Oh my God, Paul Rudd, branching out in the world.
Yeah,
he's come a long way since I Love You, Man.
He was in Clueless.
Yeah, oh my God, he was the brother in that.
Yeah, so he's been around forever. He looks the same too, which is funny.
He does. He looks the same. Like I forgot he was in Clueless, and I just remembered. Yeah, he looked the same in that movie. How old is Paul Rudd?
I mean, I'm sure he's in his 40s, but he's an actor, so they don't age.
Yeah, it's some more so than others. I mean, Paul Rudd, like out of everyone, like he literally looks the same.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
Oh man. All right, so what so yeah, Mute we'll get to. What else did you check out?
First I want to talk about it. This movie's actually on my list, which is kind of, I mean, I think it's because I didn't get around to watching enough movies. It's a movie called 1922. Have you heard of this?
I feel like I've seen a promo for it or something on Netflix, but I haven't. Is there a guy in overalls and the?
Yeah, they've been pushing it on Netflix. So that's Thomas Jane is in it.
What has he been in? Because that name's familiar.
He was in the original Punisher movie.
That's what it is. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I didn't know what to expect with this, and it's like, I don't know. It's not the best movie, but Thomas Jane's performance is just like honestly amazing in it. Like by far the best thing he's done in his career. And it's like,
is this set in like
it's
Dust
set in
Bowl times?
It's based on a Stephen King movie, and he like kills his wife so she can't sell her land because he farms it.
Oh, okay, damn.
And then basically he just starts feeling, mostly the movie's about how guilty he feels about it, but he also starts getting like followed around by rats anywhere he goes. And it's like a horror movie, but it's way more about like his character. It's like a character study, and I thought it was amazing.
Man, that sounds pretty cool. Is it still on Netflix now?
Yeah, it's a Netflix original, so it'll probably always be on there.
Maybe we could review that at some point.
Yeah, I'd be down. I mean, I don't have a ton to say about it, but I would definitely say a lot about his performance because I think it was just, I didn't expect him to do something that good.
So was that a 2017 release?
Yeah.
Oh man, all right, yeah, I gotta keep this thing on my.
No publicity, really.
I didn't hear anything about it. In fact, I think I thought it was a TV show or something because I remember the poster for it, and I don't know, for some reason I just processed it as like, oh, it's another TV show. But I'll have to look into that. I watched the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which I'd never seen before.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not the biggest Wes Anderson fan. but it was actually pretty good. I mean, there was still some of his humor is just, it's hit or miss for me, and the general like whimsical tone of his movie sometimes rubs me the wrong way, but this one it kind of worked in. I liked they used kind of a stop motion animation for a lot of the sea creatures that they use when the group is in going underwater or interacts with them, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, Bill Murray, if anyone has, I'm sure a lot of people have probably seen it, but Bill Murray is like this eccentric captain of this documentary team who makes these ridiculous documentary movies about sea life, and he's coming out with a new one, and he needs this one to basically save his business, or save his enterprise, I should say. And it's cool. I mean, it's got have you seen it before? I can't remember if you've seen it.
Yeah, that's actually probably my favorite Wes Anderson movie, which isn't saying much because I don't like his movies all that much, but I like that one.
Yeah, I this might be my favorite of his too, or it's right up there. I mean, I still didn't love it, but I actually think Bill Murray's really funny in it. He's got some classic lines, and Jeff Goldblum is amazing in it.
I was about to say Jeff Goldblum is in it. It's pretty good. So.
There's a scene where like he and Bill Murray are talking, and it's just this deadpan conversation. The dog is barking. Bill Murray's dog is barking, and Jeff Goldblum asks him what the dog's name is, and Bill Murray just clearly names it right on the spot. He's like, his name is what is his name? Like Cody or something. And then Jeff Goldblum just gets up and like smacks it with a newspaper. He's like, "Be still, Cody." it's pretty good. So yeah, that was good. I like the visuals. The nautical stuff was pretty awesome, and I like the ending too with when they find the jaguar shark. That was pretty cool. What else you been checking out? What else you got?
I actually watched another Netflix original, another Stephen King adaptation, Gerald's Game. Did you hear about this one?
I did hear about that one. I heard some pretty good things.
It was good. I mean, it was a lot better than I expected. I mean, this one got a lot more hype. It's about the woman who goes to a cabin with her husband, and he handcuffs her to the bed, and then he has a heart attack and dies.
Oh man, it's like an isolated cabin, like
and like he left the front door open, so there's like a wolf that comes in there, and like first it eats him, and then it kind of starts messing with her.
It eats him?
Yeah, like there's a wild wolf or a wild dog, and she kicks him off the bed onto the floor, and the dog comes in and eats him. Well, it eats like part of his arm.
Oh man, that would be hell.
Yeah, and then there's one scene. I don't know how much I should spoil it.
Yeah, spoilers, everybody, as always.
There's one scene where she starts hallucinating, and like a lot of it she's like talking to herself, and like this really weird, scary looking dude comes in, and he like shows her like this box full of stuff. It's like bones and stuff, and she assumes it's hallucination, and then she figures out that it was like a dude that came in there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh man. Was he like a monster or just a really weird guy?
Apparently he had he looked like a literal monster in the movie, but apparently he just had some weird disease, and he was like a serial killer that only killed men and not women. That's why he didn't mess with her.
So does she get out of the chains?
Yeah. Oh man, the scene where she has to get out is so brutal. She has to like deglove her hand, and it's like very graphic. It shows like the skin of her hand completely almost come off.
Wait, what do you mean? Like she squeezed her hand through the handcuffs? And
she cuts the skin, so the skin comes loose, and like all the skin on her hand comes off like a glove almost.
Oh my god!
But it doesn't. It's like hanging off, and then she gets it back on because she has to use her hand.
Oh man!
Yeah, that's how she gets out. It's brutal.
Almost sounds like 127 hours type situation.
It's exactly what it reminded me of, and I would say it's right up there with how brutal it was. Like I had to look away, and I normally don't.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty grisly stuff. So if we have to look away, it's not.
Speaking of which, Annihilation has some decently grisly stuff, and this was nothing.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it definitely did. Well, on a very similar vein to Gerald's Game, I watched Ratatouille for the first time. I was doing some work the other night, and it was just on in the background. I was like, I've never watched this, so I was kind of mildly paying attention to the work I was doing, and I watched it. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I don't really have too much to say about it. I mean, he's basically a little rat who helps this chef cook all these amazing meals. There's a food critic in it, and he's just this evil critic, and he's pretty amazing. I think his name's like Ego or something. Yeah, I mean, it was good. And last thing I watched was I'm mowing through these Werner Herzog documentaries. I don't know why. I'm just on a documentary kick, but I watched Happy People, A Year in the Taiga, and it was pretty amazing. You should check this thing out. It's basically Werner Herzog, I guess, spent a year in Siberia and just tracked a typical year in the lives of these people that live there, and it is just, it's so interesting to watch. This one village he focuses on, it's just a bunch of people that they don't really have any outside technology. They make everything they are primitive, but they're clearly aware of the outside world, and it's not necessarily, that they don't want technology or hate technology. It's so cold there that they just end up I feel like a lot of technology doesn't even work, and they just pretty much live off the land. So the men are all like, a lot of them are hunters and trappers, and he follows around these trapper guys who have to make like thousands of intricate handmade traps all throughout the wilderness, and they just spend the whole year working. Like, that's all they do. They build everything on their own. They build their own canoes, and there's a whole scene. It's probably about a 5-minute scene of this person just working on this canoe, and just the amount of progress that he makes in 5 minutes of work is incredible. And I don't envy their life at all, because I would die. Like, I wouldn't last 5 minutes, but to see them just make everything on their own, it was pretty amazing. They're all decently happy too. I think they all like doing it. I guess that's just the way they're raised, but they all seem to have this pride about it, and it's pretty interesting. And everyone carries all the guys who go out hunting have a dog that's like their best friend. So the dog does everything, like it hunts for them, it sniffs out prey and things like that. And they're pretty rough with the dogs. Like, this one guy goes back to they're usually about 200 miles away from their village when they're hunting and stuff, because they have these huge ranges of where they hunt, and they go back for New Year's. So they go home for a couple days. So one of the few modern conveniences they have are snowmobiles. So this trapper drives 200 miles home, and the dog runs the whole time.
Oh man. He
doesn't let the dog up on the snowmobile with him. The dog runs behind him the whole 200 miles, and it doesn't. And Vern Herzog is narrating. He's like, they didn't even stop once. Like, it was just like he's going like full speed the whole way home, and the dog just runs right with him. It's through like thick snow. It's incredible. I mean, I was on borderline like that's animal abuse, but I guess they're just used to it, and the dog seemed okay when it got home. It was just
I know
unbelievable.
sled dogs can go like insane distances.
Yeah, so this dog goes like 200 miles to get home for this thing. So you should check it out. It's really interesting to watch.
I love Werner Herzog stuff. That actually reminds me of a movie he did that we should do. It's like where he that expedition goes to the South America or something, and they all just basically gets killed by natives and stuff, and they kind of go crazy.
Oh, is that is it called like Ajira or something?
Yeah, it has a title. It's like got that Klaus Kinski guy who's like totally insane.
Yeah, I want to watch it. You've seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's something.
Yeah, he does some pretty interesting. He just doesn't give a crap. Like he'll go into some crazy situations where I feel like a lot of other directors would not approach, and he just talks with some really strange people and interesting people. I mean, this one guy he finds in this village he's a really smart guy. I mean, he's kind of philosophizing about things, and he clearly understands his position in the world, and he accepts it, and it's really interesting to watch him go through his year. And it's highly recommended. It's a little slow at parts. I mean, there are scenes where he'll show someone doing something for a long time, but most of the time, what the person is doing is just so fascinating that I was in. But so that is Happy. It's on Netflix now. Happy People: A Year in the Taiga, and that's all I got.
There's actually one more I forgot to mention. Remember, I was telling you about that TV show, and it's just like the movie Nightcrawler.
Oh yeah, what is that called again?
It's called Shot in the Dark, and actually, like some of the guys on this TV show consulted for Nightcrawler. So basically, the TV show is literally Nightcrawler, the documentary. Each episode plays out exactly like the movie does, almost, except they're not, totally nuts.
So are these real people that are getting this footage, or like the real
Yeah,
reporters or whatever.
I thought some of it was fake, but I mean, like, I Googled all the stories and, they're all real. And it's like, there was one guy, he even pulled a guy out of a car before it exploded. And, they just like drive around LA looking for accidents and stuff. And I mean, people get really pissed when they see him because they think they're like, voyeurs. And I mean, I think that it explores some kind of like interesting ideas because like the media just like eats this crap up. Like, they can't get enough of it. So, I mean, that's why these guys have jobs, because people want to see what they're making. So,
is it more like, are these guys more freelance, or are they hired, because in Nightcrawler, he ends up, I think, getting hired by the station, right? Are these guys like hired hands for the station, or are they kind of freelancing and just...
I don't remember if he actually gets hired by the station, because I think they're all independent companies, and it's like, one of them is only 3 people, and the other 2 I think are a lot bigger, but they only show like it's like 3 different people they show, and it's like 2 of them they make them out to seem kind of small, but really I think they're decently big. But yeah, what they'll do is like throughout the night they'll be calling the news station, be like, "Do you want this footage?" And I mean, it's exactly like the movie plays out, like just every way.
Man, that's crazy. I gotta check that out because that is fascinating in that movie.
Was.
I mean, he is.
People there's someone about it because the way that their job is so like slimy, but I just thought it was incredibly interesting.
I mean, it is pretty slimy, but it's so cool to watch, and it's just the fact that people do this, especially, it doesn't even sound like Nightcrawler pushed it all that far. I mean, maybe really, with the ending, but yeah, it sounds like there's pretty similar stuff going on in real life. Oh, I gotta watch. What's it? One more time. What's it called?
It's called Shot in the Dark.
A Shot in the Dark.
There's also like a lot of really good shots because I mean they always drive around it. I mean like the cinematography is actually really good, and they're driving around LA at night. So if you're just interested in LA, you would see a ton of it.
I am interested in LA, and I'm very interested in LA at night. So I gotta I gotta see those visuals.
Yeah, it's only like 6 episodes or something. It's really short, but I loved it, and I mean I think it has a lot to say about people. They watch this crap, so that's why they have jobs. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's people, it's about getting those views.
Yeah, so. I mean, you can point the finger at them, but the fact is we want to see what they have, so.
Yeah, I mean, that so much of our society, you could basically say, I mean, that, people complain about why athletes make so much money because we watch them,
Exactly.
It's like, at some point, it's like, if you want that to change, then don't watch it, but people are going to keep watching it because it's interesting.
Yep.
All right, well, I got nothing else, man. Anything else going on before
I think that's enough. We've been, we should probably get around to the review.
Yeah, let's get to this because this is going to be a doozy. We got Annihilation, directed by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina, and it's a 2018 release. And I guess take us into it, Dave.
Yeah, I actually got to think about this, even though I just saw it today. So it opens with
it's a tough synopsis.
Yeah, it's Natalie Portman, whose character's name is. I actually remember most of the character names. Is Lena, right?
Yeah, I think I've seen it twice, so I'm pretty sure I've got the names.
Yeah, so she's like a professor of biology, and I think she like specializes in cells because she's doing a lecture on cell division, and it's like from a cancerous tumor.
Yeah.
So she does that, and then another professor approaches her and asks her if she wants to get out, and then we find out that her husband has been missing for a year, and she's still kind of in her shell about it. So she goes back to her house, starts painting her bedroom, and then, in hindsight, this scene just really was almost funny to me.
It is. I liked it. Well, we'll get to it.
There's something I want to talk about, but we'll wait.
All right.
At least until it comes up. So her husband shows up and just randomly walks into the house. He's a soldier in the army, and I think he's like special forces. And he walks up, doesn't say anything. She hugs him. She talks to him. He won't answer, basically. And then she takes him down to the kitchen, and he kind of like doesn't really respond. He just keeps saying, "I don't know." She's like, "Where have you been? Where did you go? What happened?" All this crap. And then he starts he gets sick. Like there's blood coming out of his mouth. She calls an ambulance, and they pick him up. He's having a seizure in the ambulance, and then the ambulance gets intercepted by like the Men in Black, basically. I mean, just instantly they get swarmed by like SUVs and a helicopter.
Yeah, it's a quick response.
Yeah. So then she wakes up and she's like kind of like in a prison cell, and she gets approached by a character named Ventress, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who is a psychologist, and she explains to her that her husband was on a top secret mission, and he's the only person that ever came back. And she's asking her all these questions, and she's like, I don't know. And then she takes her out, and
I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want them answered immediately.
Yeah, it's very evasive for honestly no reason, because literally in the next scene she explains everything that's going on. So she takes her outside and explains that. Actually, I think the opening scene, it shows that the like a meteorite or something hit Earth.
Yeah, I think that was pretty early it's one of the early scenes.
I think that is actually the very first scene. I forgot about it.
Yeah, and you see sort of a shimmering
the shimmer.
The shimmer.
So she takes her out there in a place called Area X, and yeah, she explains to her that something landed from outer space on a lighthouse. And I think, are they in Florida? Because I Googled it, and I think that's where they are.
Yeah, they're in Florida.
And it's like Blackwater State Park. So it landed in a lighthouse, and it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And ever since then, like this shimmering light has been expanding in a circle around it, growing over the last 3 years. And basically, like, everybody that they send in there, like they send drones, people, planes, nothing has ever come out except for her husband, whose name is Kane, by the way. So for the last 3 years, this thing has literally been expanding, and it's kind of like in the swamp in the middle of nowhere, which is funny because I looked it up, and I think that Pensacola, Florida, is literally right next to where that thing would have landed. So it would have been on Pensacola pretty quick.
Oh man, they should have had it land in like Times Square.
Yeah, because this is I don't want to say a plot hole, but something I had a problem with is that it's been 3 years that this thing has been happening, and they've managed to keep it a secret, which. I mean, I get that they're the government and they're like the Men in Black, but I think after 3 years, somebody's going to like go hiking and freaking take a picture of this thing.
Yeah, I think people would people would get close enough to see that because the shimmer is huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally like...
It's like a giant soap bubble. I mean, you can...
It's probably like many square miles, maybe hundreds of square miles already.
Yeah.
It's like covering a big portion of Florida. And so... She explains that everybody goes in, nobody comes out. They don't know anything about it. And at the rate it's growing, it's going to take over the whole country in a few years. So she explains that she's going in, and suddenly Elena is like, okay, well, I'll go with you because I think she feels like she owes it to her husband or something. Well, we find some stuff out later. And then that night, she's at like some... I don't know, she's outside eating, and like she have a group of other women are out there eating, and they approach her and tell her that they're all going in too, and they're all like specialists in their fields. I didn't really understand, like they all got picked from different ways, but like I didn't really understand how some of them ended up there. Like one of them was like who was the woman from Cambridge? I don't know how she ended up there. She said she applied for an NGO and then she just somehow ended up here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all the explanation you get.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this is obviously like top secret, highest level government stuff. And they're like, there's a paramedic there. I don't remember her name. I remember one of them is Shepherd. I don't know what she was. I think she was a geologist.
Well, it seems like at the end of the day, they want you to focus more on like what each of these people are going through. I get that, but that doesn't excuse this movie from anything. No.
Because the major theme of this movie is like grief and how people like make these self-destructive decisions when they're going through grief, or maybe not for any reason at all. And because one of the character Ventress is a psychologist, and she has like a scene where she explains it. So anyway, they all explain that the next day they're going into the shimmer. I should also mention that like throughout the film, like Lena is being interviewed in like a room by some scientist, and like basically like she's telling her story to a scientist, and we find out in the beginning that everybody has died but her, and she doesn't remember anything, and that she was actually missing for like 4 months, even though she only took enough food for 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So the next day they get some gats. They give them all guns, even though the only character that's a soldier was Lena. She was in the army. That's where she met her husband. And then they give them supplies, and they're like, just go in there and die because nobody in the last 3 years has made it out, so you're not going to make it out. I mean, really, I think that
it's a suicide mission.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost
or a self-destruction mission.
Yeah, that's the whole major theme. Is that like, I mean, yeah, that's another thing. She's like, well, it's not suicide, but self-destruction. Like they know they're not coming out, and it's almost like they want to die or they want to do something stupid because once we get in, the very first thing that happens is that like they wake up in their tents. They don't remember making camp, and they've already been there for like 4 days. So clearly, like they're already doomed if like they are losing days at a time.
Yeah, but they don't really go back to that. There's just so many things to get about. Yeah, like we'll get to it.
I'm glad you have some issues with this movie because
I have a lot of issues.
Yeah, that's something that's really not explored much is time loss. So then they also all their equipment goes wrong, which makes sense because they send drones in and stuff and nothing comes out. Which man, there's something else I want to talk about with regards to how they approach this thing, but. Yeah, so one woman, Shepherd, I think it is, explains that you can figure out which way you're going by the sun in your watch. So they get oriented and they decide to head for the lighthouse because that's where it landed. That's where they want to go. And then when they get to the lighthouse, they'll just follow the beach back out. So they already want to get out, which I think is funny. Yeah, I don't even know. This is my major problem with movies. I don't know why they went in to begin with, but yeah. So they make their way down, and the first thing they come across is like it's like a cabin that's kind of like half sunk. It's not a cabin, it's a house. And they find some boats there. And they find some flowers that have like, basically like the flowers are like crossbreeding. So it's like multiple species of flowers are growing out of the same stem or whatever.
Yeah.
And then
like genetic mutations.
Yeah, do you remember what the one girl's name from Cambridge was?
Josie?
Josie. Yeah, so Josie gets pulled in she goes to look into the house and she gets pulled under by something, and then they pull her out and save her, and then it's like a giant, I guess it's probably an alligator since they're in Florida. So they shoot the alligator, and the only person that seems to really know how to shoot is Lena, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she shoots it up, and then they open it up, and it's like got rows of teeth, so basically they think it's like somehow had shark DNA fused with it.
Yeah, kind of more crossbreeding.
Yeah, which is funny to me because another major problem I have with this movie is like they're constantly making discoveries and none of the characters will acknowledge that it's possible, even though they're clearly not dealing with like, how can you say something's impossible when you see a giant freaking magical blob absorbing the world? Like clearly the rules don't matter anymore.
Yeah, those are out the window.
Like they get really upset about some things and it's like, why are you not accepting these things? Like clearly like everything you know doesn't matter.
Oh man.
So they make their way. The next place they make it to is an army base, and apparently it was the old base of operations for the Shimmer. Oh, it's called the Southern Reach.
Yeah, I think that's what the book trilogy is called, the Southern Reach trilogy.
And then they actually go into the mess hall there, and they find out that one of the last teams that went in, which was with Kane, Lena's husband, they had been there already, and they saw that they were doing guard shifts, and then they find like a SD card and it says for the next or whatever for those that follow. So they watch it and it shows Kane actually, and it shows like a guy being restrained and his like stomach is moving, and like he cuts open his stomach completely and opens it, and it sees like, I don't know if they were his intestines or not, I guess it doesn't matter that much, are like moving around inside him like a snake.
Yeah.
So this is the next point where they say that's impossible because the paramedic, in fact, they all pretty much say, no, it's a trick with the light. That's not possible. Trust me, I would know.
I gotta say, like, that was ridiculous. Watching that, I was like, that wasn't no trick of the light.
That made me so mad. Like you know that you're literally dealing with aliens and like supernatural stuff. How are you going to try and argue that this isn't happening? Clearly, it's happening, and it should be easier for you to deal with because, like, you knew you were going into a suicide mission. You knew that tons of weird stuff is going on, and like, but somehow that's not happening.
Yeah, it was her denial.
I mean, they deny everything, and it's like all the stuff you've seen. Like, all right, so yeah, then they actually find the dude, and he turned into like some kind of weird tree. I don't even know what he did. He was like in the pool where they cut him open, and then they find his corpse is like mutated into some kind of weird thing. I don't know. It's like Cronenberg-esque. That was a good description.
It reminded me of The Thing.
Yeah, that's a pretty good indicator.
A little bit.
So then that night they're like Lena and Ventress are out. I don't know why they're in the middle of that field instead of inside the base. They're keeping watch, but
yeah, but they're keeping watch in a weird spot,
like because they have guard towers in the base and they like go into some low thing. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't.
Shepherd is out there, or she comes out there to like relieve them, and she gets attacked by a bear, and it drags her off, and they can't find her, so they wait till the next day to go looking for her. So they go out there and they find her, and she's been killed. And gosh, what happens next? See, this is where it's losing me a little bit.
So then they just go to then they find a house that they go into, and everyone's kind of losing it by this point.
Yeah. All right, I know where we're at then. So there's just not that much left.
No.
So at the house, first they discover that like the tree people, which is basically there are trees that are shaped like people. So obviously the people turned into trees. And this is when Josie has the discovery. Oof, this made me mad. That all waves are being refracted back inside of the shimmer, including DNA, like all radio waves, everything. That's why they can't get a signal out. So basically, not only is the radio waves and stuff being refracted back in, but your own DNA is being like, I guess, refracted back into the other things. And that's why people's DNA is like moving and fusing with other stuff. And of course, they can't accept this either. They don't believe it's true, which, I mean, like I said, all this other crap you've seen, of course you can believe it. I mean, and also this whole idea that your DNA is like, I don't know. That's what's going on. So they go in the house. They Lena looks at a sample of her blood and sees that her cells are splitting, so she knows that she's infected by whatever it is. Because whatever it is makes your skin start crawling. I guess it turns you into something. And that night, and then she wakes up and who was the paramedic? Do you remember her name?
Man, I actually don't. Gina Rodriguez is the actress. I can't. She's the only one I can't remember what her name in the movie is. Is it like might have been Anya? Anya, maybe.
Eliza. That sounds right. I don't know.
Or Anya, maybe. I don't know.
Well, this is her last scene, so
yeah.
So she knocks them all out, ties them all up, and she's clearly losing her mind. And she explains that she found out that Kane is Lena's husband, and that she thinks that Kane went crazy and killed everybody, and that. Even though she's the one that's going crazy. So while she's doing that, she hears Shepard, the one earlier that got killed by a bear, screaming. So she runs out and then gets mauled basically by a bear because the bear runs in, and the bear actually the bear's DNA fused with Shepard while it was eating her, and so basically now when it opens its mouth, it screams Shepard's voice.
Yeah.
So they managed to break free while that's happening. Paramedic comes back in, shoots the bear, gets eaten pretty bad. She gets it pretty good. And then Josie, I think, is the one that picks up a gun and ends up shooting the bear and saving Lena.
Yep.
So then that night, Ventress decides she's got to make it to the lighthouse right now because their DNA is breaking down and they're not going to make it if they don't go right now. And the next day, actually, Josie, who's already turning into a tree, basically explains that she's not going to fight it. She's just going to accept it, and then she disappears. Also, something I forgot to mention earlier with the major themes, every character that went in there had a reason to not kind of care about their life, because one I think was a drug addict. I know one was someone that self-harmed. Someone lost their daughter and husband or something.
Yeah, Shepard.
Yeah, the psychologist had cancer, and then obviously Lena was guilty. We find out there's some flashbacks. She was having an affair with one of the professors while her husband wasn't missing, so she was feeling guilty about that. So they were all dealing with some grief. That's why they went out there. She explains that it's not a suicide mission, but it is a self-destruction mission, which it is a suicide mission because they all die. But so they make it to the lighthouse. Lena goes inside and does she see? Well, I don't know if the order matters that much. She sees Ventress basically explodes into light and explains that the aliens are going to break everything down into their simplest forms and then destroy them. And then she watches a videotape and she sees her husband Kane actually, because she sees a corpse laying up against the wall of the lighthouse, and she sees that Kane actually is talking to a clone of himself, Bizarro Kane.
Bizarro Kane.
Yeah, because he had the slick back hair, and it's just looking back, he literally looked like Bizarro World Kane. Not even it was so obvious that there was something off with him, and he just looks stupid to me.
He even just seems like evil Bizarro Kane.
Yeah,
just
not
in the way.
Yeah. He had this the evil slick back hair. Yeah, so he's talking to him and he takes a grenade and blows himself up. So then she's like, "Oh crap, that guy there is not even my husband." So she goes down and she sees that there's a humanoid shape, and she shoots that and runs up and sees another one, and she tries to attack it with a camera and it knocks her out. And then she wakes up and she sees that it's actually mimicking her everywhere she goes. So she manages to grab another grenade and puts it in its hand and then pulls the pin and runs, and it explodes. And actually ends up burning the lighthouse down. And I don't know if it totally destroyed the shimmer or not, but I kind of got the impression that it did.
It does, yeah, because the thing touches everything in the lighthouse and everything burns. So, and then the shimmer just dissipates.
And then we're back at the Area X where Lena is explaining that she killed it all, and then he's like, the guy scientist like kind of has some questions, and it doesn't seem like he even necessarily believes her story. So then he tells her that her husband Kane's, he was dying before his like vitals all came back to normal after the shimmer was destroyed. So she goes in there to see him and she asks him like, "Are you Kane?" And he says, I don't think so. And then she's like, "Are you Lena?" And she doesn't answer, and then they hug, and then it's over.
And her eyes are changing color.
Yeah, actually, yeah. There's something I want to talk about with that too. So,
all right. So that is Annihilation. So, man, there is so much to get into with this. So, do you want to just do initial, overall, broad feelings about the movie, whether you liked it or not, and then we'll start breaking this down into
we can do that
into pieces until it's annihilated. All right. So, what did you think of it?
I really didn't like it very much. I feel like that. Everybody like reading these critical reviews talking about like how it like makes you think and stuff, and it's like didn't really make me think. And I think my major issue was, first of all, I think the characters did stupid things, acted kind of stupid. I think the acting was pretty bad on a few of the characters, and it just didn't seem like it really didn't seem like they had a reason to be going in there. And I definitely didn't care about anybody. Like when they were dying, I really didn't care. The only character I cared about at all was Lena. But it's like they went in there, it seemed like they didn't have like a clear purpose. Like they just kind of decided, all right, we're going in there next. Even though like every single person that goes in there dies. And then once they were in there, they didn't even have like a clear goal. Like, okay, they were going to take samples and get to the lighthouse, but really it just seemed like they were kind of aimlessly wandering. Like they tried to run out of there almost as soon as they got in there. Like as soon as they got to the army base, they wanted to turn back and leave. And I was just like, well, why did you go in there in the first place? And it just like, it didn't seem like they had really had a reason.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I will say overall, I did like the movie. It's just a movie that I just have a lot of issues with. I liked it overall. There were some things in it that I've never seen before. There were some things I really enjoyed, but I have a laundry list of nitpicks with the movie, and then I have a couple big problems with the movie that just knock it down. But I still enjoyed it overall. But I feel like the way that I look at this movie to appreciate it the most is if I just kind of look at it as a genre movie, like a genre kind of mood piece. Like I just look at it based on that lens, and if I look at it that way, I enjoy it. If I don't really care about, because in a genre movies, a lot of times I don't really care about the characters. It's more about the environment they're in and what happens to them, and am I seeing some cool visuals and things happening, and that is where I think the movie was successful. But some of the loftier things this movie tries to attempt just did not work at all for me. To me, I'll get into my biggest issue is I just didn't care at all about Lena and Kane's relationship, and it just felt, I hated all the flashbacks, like everyone. I hated the flashbacks with her and Kane. They felt forced to me. I hated the flashbacks with Lena and the professor.
Yeah, that got really tiring.
And it was the same image. It just felt so cliched. It wasn't interesting, and it just makes me I didn't really like Lena's character. I thought the performances were mixed. I thought Natalie Portman did an okay job acting wise, but I thought the writing was one of the weaknesses in this movie. I just didn't I didn't buy Lena really as a person. I couldn't latch on to anything about her. I didn't understand her motivation. I mean, if her motivation to me is going into the Shimmer because she wants to atone for the guilt of having an affair with the professor without her husband knowing until that certain point, I don't buy it because I don't care about the relationship. It just was there's only 3 or 4 flashbacks of them the whole movie, and they just felt really they weren't interesting. They didn't reveal a lot about the characters. That one bedroom where they're tickling each other under the covers, that was so uncomfortable and forced to me. Like that did not feel natural at all. It felt so written. every line there where he's like, oh, I love it when you patronize me. Let me tickle you some. It just felt so stupid and movie-ish. Like, it didn't feel like it was really happening. And then,
yeah, that's for me too. Like, if the characters' motivations like were either poorly explained or just like didn't make sense or they weren't there at all, like it was like all just like they went in there for some reason and we don't know why.
Yeah, and I thought the other performances I was fine with. I thought the other three women were. I wasn't crazy about Jennifer Jason Leigh, but I mean, I guess her character was supposed to be kind of, annoying, like not really likable. But the other two were good. But I still didn't. That's why I try to kind of look at it from a genre angle, is because you don't really get to know those characters. So I'm sort of almost just looking at them more as like, just almost broadly written characters that are almost certainly going to die in this Shimmer, and they do. So
we know from the beginning they'll die because they say that you're the only survivor.
So I don't know. I mean, the way I kind of justify it is that maybe I'm not really. If I'm really supposed to like care about deeply about those characters, then yeah, this did not work at all for me. But if they're just sort of bodies that are going into the Shimmer to be killed that have some interesting lines and good performances, then I'm cool with it. It worked for me. But I didn't really care about anybody in this movie. I just didn't. I don't know. It's just. But again, like I think you are really supposed to care about Natalie Portman and Oscar Isaac's relationship, and I just couldn't care less about it. It never worked for me throughout the whole movie, and like so many, their relationship, Natalie Portman in general and Oscar Isaac just felt lifeless. I mean,
Oscar Isaac, he felt like he barely belonged in the movie. Like, I didn't buy him as a character in the least.
No, and let's get to the other thing. This is a big problem I had. What is with the accent that he has in
Oh my god, dude. That accent was terrible. He couldn't even keep it up the whole movie.
But he doesn't have it in the other scenes. He just has it at the end, right?
Well, that's because he's like, the Bizarro version doesn't have it.
Yeah, but I mean, normal Oscar Isaac doesn't have that accent.
That's not how he sounds in real life.
No, but I mean normal, not normal. Kane, I should say. I don't mean Oscar Isaac the actor, but he doesn't have that accent in those flashback scenes, does he?
No, he does. It's just not a good accent. It's like really, it goes in and out.
Yeah, that accent is just rough, and I mean, but in the end scene, it is very pronounced. So it almost makes you think. Honestly, the first time I saw the movie, I've seen it twice. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Wait, is that accent? Is that like?" Has the Shimmer changed him so he has a different accent now? Like I that's how I was interpreting that, but apparently he had it the whole movie. I didn't hear it.
There's actually another performance. The woman that played Shepard, I thought was terrible. Did you notice that like there's one scene where she's on the boat and it's a scene where she's talking about all the trauma that everybody's gone through. She has like this weird smirk that goes in and out, and it honestly felt like she couldn't deliver her lines with a straight face in any scene.
Well, that was another line that just felt so written to me, is where she says, what is that line about, she says something like, and then my child died, and then two people died. One was my child and one was the person that I was before it happened. Or it just felt, and the way the lines are, the way that some of those hard, quote unquote, hard hitting philosophical lines are delivered is so emotionless that I'm just like, I don't buy it. It just sounds so pretentious or overly written that I didn't care, and it annoyed me. I didn't even like those other lines about suicide, where it's like suicide is like self-destruction. It just felt like movie dialogue. It did not feel like what those characters would be talk. I understand that Ventress is a psychologist or whatever, but it felt like movie talk, especially in the situation they were in. I just didn't like it.
That's what bugged me, is like everybody's like, this is a movie you'll spend a lot of time thinking about, but it's like the movie tells you what to think about. Like, the whole overarching theme really is about grief, because they're all grief-stricken people. Like, it shows her flashbacks with the cheating, and then they all go on a self-destructive course. And I guess that Kane has like that kind of revelation at the end, like, thought I was a man, but I guess it wasn't.
Yeah.
That's why I did this.
The accent is so thick in that last scene. I thought I was a man, but I guess I wasn't. And even if he has it in those flashback scenes, it is like amplified times 10 in that final scene, and that is so confusing.
It goes in and out because I distinctly remember it having it in every scene, except the Bizarro version didn't have it, and it really goes in and out.
It's just not a good accent. Like, just make him just use his normal voice for the whole, or maybe even make him just sound more animated as normal Oscar Isaac, and then, he can sound more lifeless as the clone version. That was just so awkward. Like, I literally, my girlfriend Jess and I started laughing when he talked at the end there. Like, we were like, wait, what is that? What is he doing? I thought I was a man, but
maybe I was you.
And I actually liked that scene. It was cool, but
with the grenade.
But his accent was just not good. So yeah, the main relationship didn't work at all for me, and I feel like that's a pretty big aspect of the movie. So that was probably my biggest single issue with it.
I think we had the same gripes, is that the writing was weak and that the character motivations were just not good.
Yeah, they really weren't. And I mean, and I get each of the characters has sort of a trait. The one is Gina Rodriguez she was addiction, and Tessa Thompson had a problem with self-harm, and Ventress was, had cancer, and like they all had their own motivations. It just didn't, I don't know, like that didn't work because the writing was weak to me, and I just didn't end up caring about those characters.
Yeah,
and
I think it was all very uninteresting. Like, they weren't interesting to watch, and I didn't care what happened to them.
That's why and I actually didn't mind some of the performances. I thought Gina Rodriguez and Tessa Thompson were pretty good. I even thought Natalie Portman was pretty good. It just, the writing, again, to me was weak. And I just try to look at it from a genre standpoint where it's like, I don't really care about these people, but they're in what I thought were really interesting situations. So I kind of just kind of cast the characters aside. And if I were directing this movie, I would have ditched all the flashbacks, and I would have gotten rid of most of that character stuff and just played it like a straight up genre movie where crazy shit is happening in this place, and that is the most interesting thing in the movie. Because to me, all the stuff that happens in the Shimmer was the most interesting stuff, and I wish there was even more of it.
I think that is a major complaint of mine, is that there was only a few interesting things that happened in the Shimmer, and for the most part, it was just them like talking about their lives. Well, not even talking about their lives, but it's like mostly they were just talking about what was happening. But in terms of visuals, there wasn't a whole lot there for me. Like, most of it, there just wasn't that much of it, really.
I wasn't crazy about the cinematography because it felt, I liked a lot of the visuals, but some of the cinematography felt like this movie has a weird, I don't know if it's like high key lighting, but
it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, it's not. There's some standout scenes, but overall, I wasn't crazy about the look of it. But some of the individual, I don't know, what would that be, like set design, production design, some of that stuff I thought was amazing.
Yeah, but like the art design too.
Yeah,
some of the like focal lengths they used. Did you notice like a lot of stuff, like they were constantly putting parts of the scene out of focus, and maybe that was like to kind of show how disoriented they were. But it was just made the movie like made it hard for me to watch. Like, it was hard for me to even see.
See, that I was cool with that. The one thing I liked about one big thing I liked was the tone. It did have, like, to me throughout the whole movie, an unsettling tone. I just always felt like things weren't quite right, and even in the slower moments, that tone still worked for me. And I like the score.
Sense of dread, but I also just didn't care because it was like, I didn't care what was going to happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't super care either, but I was still interested. I still wanted to see what was coming, and I also like the score. That kind of, it almost like contrasted with the sort of that melody that played in and out. Like, I actually like that a lot. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it was like
on the guitar. Yeah, that was interesting. I guess I like that kind of southern thing.
Yeah, and it just felt like it almost felt like it didn't belong in the movie, but it worked for me. It just like a contrast.
But kind of going back to what you said about like the tone, I think that it was a mistake, like letting the audience know that everybody died in the beginning, because then it's like when something bad happened, it's like, all right, well, who's going to die? It's not going to be Lena, obviously, but somebody's dying here.
That's another big problem I had that I didn't, and a lot of these issues I've had after the fact, because after I saw it the first time, I borderline loved it. I was like right on the edge, and then but I wanted to see it again, and then I saw it again, and I still liked it, but it actually went down for me a bit. And now that I'm thinking about it more, I still like it, but it's more problems are just rearing their ugly head the more I think about it. And what was that one you just said?
Like it's in the beginning they tell you everybody dies.
Yeah,
Lena, so you don't really care when they die.
I think they should have just cut out. I think they should have cut out all the flashbacks and that through line of Lena making it through, because you know what happens from the beginning. Yeah, and
it makes you not care about anybody. You didn't need that at all in the movie.
And to me, the characters the writing is already pretty weak with the characters. So the fact that I know that the characters are going to die and they're not all that interesting is like, why, it just takes the stakes from those characters totally away.
Yeah, like when Shepard got it, I was like, oh, well, see ya. Seriously, I did not care.
Yeah, and I just knew Natalie Portman was going to make it through alive, and I think it would have been added a lot more tension if you didn't know if she was going to make it or not. But she's going to survive, so it just didn't really. Yeah,
I think they
would have
gotten rid of sci-fi shot of her like in the room with like the scientists like kind of imposing, scarily looking at her.
But it's like even just show that scene have like a scene at the end where that's happening, and then she's like finishing up the story and you see that she did survive. But having it throughout the movie, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was kind of interesting at times because occasionally she would say, things were beautiful, or at least most of it was, and then it would show cool images and stuff, so it kind of let you know that cool stuff was coming. But I would have rather just come across that stuff organically just watching the movie rather than having that like not exposition, but having Natalie Portman tell me what's about to happen. I just didn't need that. And it just made me, again, it's like, what's going to happen in this movie. And for a movie with such an unsettling tone, I wanted to be even more on the edge of my seat as to who's going to live and who's going to die. And who lives and who dies. So
it's like, it's already a weak plot. And then I think you just like hamstringed it basically.
Yeah. So, I think I've gotten through most of my big problems.
I think I have one more. Let me think.
Yeah, what do you got?
What was I thinking of? Oh yeah. I think I just had a major issue with like how they approached it, because for 3 years they've been sending people in here and none of them come back, and it's like, why wouldn't you just take some bulldozers in there and start like taking the trees out so you can see in there? Like, because I guess they couldn't really see in there because it was like the shimmer obscured their view and then it was like a forest. So just take a whole bunch of bulldozers. I mean, you have the entire military.
You know what I said to Jess when we were watching this? I was like, you know what I would do if I were them? I would get about just 15 to 20 tanks and just a whole,
just swarm that sucker.
And just roll in there hard, man. Like, just pound through there. I was going to say helicopters too, but I guess it's too unpredictable with the time loss. So I would say just get tanks, get, heavy artillery and just even ground soldiers, and just send a freaking army through there, man.
Like, it's been 3 years and they know it's going to swallow the whole country up. Like, you have nothing left to lose. And like, just like you could literally bulldoze portions out and then come back out.
And it's like, don't get me wrong, there was some dangerous stuff in there, but there was nothing that a tank couldn't take out by any means.
I mean, like, they were able to kill the two creatures they had to fight. They killed both of them. So it's like, the big issue was like that their DNA broke down. And I'm pretty sure like she shot the one alien, and I think that might have killed it, and she blew the other one up, and that did kill it. So clearly firepower was the answer.
Yeah, it was. Like, obviously it probably, I don't know, I think it would still be a pretty interesting movie if that's the route they took. But
yeah, I mean, if they could have literally just fired a cruise missile at that lighthouse.
Yeah, seriously, just satellite image that thing and just bam,
or even like,
take
I guess
out.
Electronics don't work. Just like literally drop bombs. You don't even need guidance on them. Drop bombs on there until they blow up.
Drop a nuke in there, and that place is gone. Like
it worked. Like, one grenade did it, so clearly that would have worked. So it's not even like a stupid thing to say. Like, you could have just turned this into the action route and it would have worked.
Like, man, imagine if like Arnold was in this movie, they just sent him in there. Can you just imagine? And it like nothing affects him in the shimmer. He's just still himself.
Yeah, like I can just imagine like he's with a team and they all turn. He kills them all, and then he's like trapping the aliens and stuff.
Target acquired. Like, he sees the bear. He hones in on the bear and just blows its head off, and he's.
I mean, and really, the military would have done this. Like, if they knew that thing was going to destroy the whole country, they would have been bombing the living shit out of it.
I mean, I did think it was an interesting idea that, the military approach didn't work, send in scientists, and I thought it was interesting, and I thought, but yeah, now there's so many nitpicks I have with this movie, and I'll just start getting into some of them. What was the main one? I mean, I have a bunch of them. All right, so let's break down this duplicate scene where Natalie Portman, a duplicate is created and it mimics all her actions. Why the hell doesn't it mimic her when and the duplicate is shown to literally mimic whatever she does. But as soon as she places the bomb in its hand that's going to kill it and she runs for the door, it just stands there.
Yep. I was just thinking exactly that. And I knew she was going to do that too, because it was like, you could tell that the wheels were turning in her head.
Yeah, and it makes no sense why the thing literally follows. And I mean, I guess you could say the thing was getting used to getting its bearings, but it literally mimicked everything else she did, except for when it was about to die. It just let her go, which made no sense.
I mean, the only thing I can think is that it thought that she was trying to communicate with it, but it was like, that was what kind of bothered me when she was like, they weren't doing anything bad or good. They were just doing no, they were doing something bad. Like they were mimicking you, so they probably could just take out the entire human race.
Yeah, and I also don't know why Kane's double didn't seem to mimic him at all, but maybe, I don't know, maybe that was a different model or something.
Yeah.
It did something.
He was just talking to
but,
it, and it didn't sit down when he sat down.
No. So, all right, I talked about the act.
Stupid.
Yeah, I actually liked the scene. I just didn't like that part of it. The accent, obviously, I already talked about that. That really bothered me.
Yeah, I thought the woman that played Shepard, I thought her performance was not good.
Yeah, she was, she kind of looked like, you didn't watch Lost, but she looked like a character from Lost and kind of reminded me. Do you have anything else? I have more stuff.
Let me think. I mean, my biggest thing was I didn't care about the characters. Some of the performances weren't good. I think the writing was really weak. I actually wasn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think the visuals were all that terribly interesting. Like, I thought the one where the guy was stuck to the wall after he had the intestine thing, that was cool. But I thought that most of the visuals weren't that interesting for me.
Well, I guess we can just I'll start getting into stuff I liked, because I did like a lot about it. I thought the visuals were really cool. I wasn't super crazy about the cinematography, but the production design, the visuals, I thought were awesome. Even just when she first wakes up in the shimmer, it just, even the dewiness, and you just feel like it's a different look. You feel like it's an alien place, even though it doesn't really look that different from just the woods. It had a good feel of they're in somewhere totally different. That's another nitpick I had, though, was the time loss. I thought that was a really cool idea that, randomly time moves differently while they're in there, but they only use it initially.
Well, they
and that made,
the other time is when he says you were in there for 4 months. And then when they're in the camp, that's it. Those are the only 2 times. And it's you're right, because it's I thought that was going to be a major plot point, and it wasn't.
Yeah, I did too. I thought they were going to have to, be monitoring what they were doing, because who knows, at any time they might lose, however long. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. And I liked that they did it in that first scene, but that's all they did. And I feel like they could have used that a lot more. And I feel like it was almost kind of cheap just to use it that one time. It almost felt like, maybe it would have made things harder.
Yeah, I thought they were constantly going to be waking up and realizing that weeks or months had passed, but it literally happened once, and that was it. And the whole memory thing too, it never came back to that either.
Memory
thing?
They
all forgot how they got in there, remember? And that's the only time they forget.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the only time they forget what happened. And I feel like that would have been a cool idea to keep going back to, and it would have made sense. And I mean, I still like it, but it just feels like a missed opportunity to me.
If it had kept going that direction, I would have liked it a lot more, because I think that would have gone more towards the sci-fi horror. They're in here and it's they don't know which way is up. And that was another thing too, where they were really disoriented and they didn't know which way was which. But then they figured out which way they were going, and they didn't have any issues with that again. Yeah.
So this movie, the best things about this movie, it kind of reminded me of times of The Thing, and I love The Thing, and but The Thing is just such a cleaner movie, because it just embraces its genre. It doesn't try to inject, there's still plenty of interesting themes and philosophy type things in the movie, but it doesn't have to try to put on airs like this movie does. It just nails what it's going for. So when I look at this movie, sort of like The Thing, I enjoy those elements. Like I like the body horror stuff. I liked both of the VH or the camcorder scenes. I thought those were both really cool, especially that first one with the cutting open the guy. I thought that was awesome.
I feel like this was a big mismatch of genres, and I actually think I didn't like that.
Oh, I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought that first scene was awesome. I like the one where he kills himself with the grenade. The accent was freaking stupid, but the scene itself was cool. And I did think that whole duplicate scene was really, it was just disturbing. I don't know how to describe it really. It was the score that accompanied it too, but something, and it's not
I think
like
it was
the creature
because you think that thing is trying to mimic her so it can take her place, which is pretty sinister, even though it didn't really accomplish that goal at all. Like with the Bizarro guy, it was clearly not him, but it was like, the idea that it was going to replace her, was a really eerie idea.
It was eerie, and just even, and the thing didn't even look that crazy, but I liked the simplicity of it. I like the way it moved was just, even though it was only copying her, it was just disturbing, and the score that accompanied it I really liked too. So I love that scene. The scene was amazing to me was that bear scene. I thought that was
probably
awesome.
I think the most interesting scene in the movie.
Yeah, I like the look of that bear. The idea of the scream coming out of it I thought was creepy as hell, and just the one scene where Tessa Thompson's character like has her eyes closed and then she opens them and it's just like that straight on shot of the thing looking at her and then it screams. Like, that was pretty good. I thought that scene was amazing. I also like how the bear killed Gina Rodriguez. I thought that was pretty graphic and interesting.
Pulls her down the stairs.
Rips her jaw off. Like, that was pretty interesting.
I'll tell you what was a weird shot for me was when Lena was shooting the alligator, and it just like kind of like showed this close up of her just shooting her gun. And I don't know if there was like some kind of meaning there, but it just seemed like a really strange shot for that scene.
I know exactly which one you're talking about, and I wish they had done that more, because to me, I think it was just establishing that Lena's got military training, and here she's showing it, and she's kicking ass. But
the way it was shot, I felt like it was so strange. It was just like a weird close up of her just shooting her gun, not like the way you would normally shoot an action sequence.
Well, I feel like it was establishing the difference between her shooting the gun versus the other characters. Like, she really knows how to aim and use it, as the other characters were just kind of spraying. But it was very like pronounced. But I kind of like that. I wish they had shown more scenes of Lena doing, using her military training and doing things like that, because her character just felt kind of lifeless to me for most of it. I just didn't. That just felt like one of those moments where I was like, okay, this is a character who's in the moment. She's using her training. She's kicking ass. Like, I'm in. Like, I like this. And too much of the rest of the movie, Lena just felt like just completely detached. Even when, like, every scene, I mean, I just never really got a sense of who her character was. I didn't know why she was going into the Shimmer, because I didn't really even buy that she had a strong relationship with Kane. So her whole character just didn't really work for me. I mean, the performance was fine, and I kind of enjoyed, or I was cool watching her just as a member, one of the leading members of the expedition. But as far as the deeper character stuff, it just didn't really work for her. But yeah, I thought all the body horror stuff was cool. I thought the alligator was cool. That scene was interesting.
I honestly don't really have anything to say about things that I liked, to be perfectly honest.
I like the score. I like the tone of the movie. Man, it's hard for me to. I mean, that's mostly what I liked, but I think the things I liked were big things. I mean, the tone of it worked for me. The mood of it worked. I felt unsettled the whole time watching it, which was interesting. And I feel like it is a really interesting movie. I liked thinking about it after it was over. I wanted to see it again. Though I got to say, after the second time, I kind of feel like, okay, I don't really need to see it again, or at least
maybe you start to see like that it was a little thinner than you thought.
Yeah, it was a little thinner than I thought. Because after that first viewing, I was like, man, there's a lot to sink my teeth into. And there is, but after seeing it a second time, I was like, okay, that cleared up a lot.
Like, all right. We saw what you were doing.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much it for me.
I think we could do put a bow on this sucker.
Yeah, let's put a bow on this sucker. So what are you giving it?
I think I'm going 4.5 out of 10.
Ooh, that's a doozy. I'm gonna go with 7 out of 10. So
you didn't like it as much as I expected.
No, I liked it quite a bit, but there's just too many things that didn't work about it for me to say I loved it. There are elements of this movie that I loved. There are scenes in this movie that I loved. There are stretches that I really liked, but there's just too many big things and a lot of nitpicky things that didn't work for me to say, I loved it, or it's like this definitely wouldn't have made my top 10 of last year or anything like that.
Yeah, for me in the end, the movie felt kind of pointless for me, actually. Like, what was the point of all that?
Another, what did you get that the shimmer represented anything? Because I've read a lot that it represents cancer, and I didn't really.
That makes sense because obviously the one girl had cancer, and it almost was like it was giving them cancer because she was watching the cells divide. I didn't get that. I saw a lot of people saying that the shimmer kind of represents like a place where anything goes, and that's why they were like when you self-destruct.
Yeah, I mean, to me, cancer is, I can see why someone say that, especially since there's all kinds of lesions and tumors in there, and it's changing the people inside of it forever, like cancer does. Obviously, it changes your life, but it just I didn't get any. That just feels random to me. And cancer only directly relates to one of the minor characters in the movie, so I don't know why that it would represent cancer, and I feel like that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
They made it very clear that the big theme, and I think for me, was grief, because they were all dealing with grief, and then they were self-destructing, but it's like, it didn't have anything interesting to say for me.
Yeah, it just kind of left me a little empty, in terms of deeper meanings in this thing, but alrighty, so let's move on, and all right, I guess you want to do some Oscar stuff.
Yeah, let's get into this, because I actually didn't see nearly as many as I'd hoped, but I guess we can just talk about the categories a little bit and who we think will win and who we think should win.
All right, so we want to do you want to do all the major acting categories, and then I don't know if I can really do animated film. I don't think I've seen enough of these to make a judgment.
I'm going to be way behind you in this. I'm just going to try to give a little input.
All right, why don't we do cinematography, directing, and the acting categories? I feel like that'd be pretty good. All right, so let's kick this off. So first is actor in a leading role. The nominees are Timothée Chalamet, who the guy in Call Me by Your Name, which I didn't see. Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Kaluuya for Get Out, Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill, and Denzel Washington, who was in that Roman J. Israel Esquire. Who you got? Who do you have winning this? And
I don't see how Daniel Day-Lewis can lose. It's his last movie. First of all, it's Daniel Day-Lewis. He always wins when he's up almost. And it's his last movie. The only thing I could see challenging him would be Gary Oldman, and then this Timothée Chalamet guy, just because of the movie he's in is very socially conscious, and they love that.
That is who I'm calling right now. My prediction is Timothée Chalamet, because he's like the hot young actor right now.
He was in that Hostels movie.
Oh, was he really?
He has almost no purpose in that movie. He dies first.
Oh, well, nice. So yeah, that's who I think is going to win. Who would you want to win?
I didn't see any of these. I was getting ready to watch Phantom Thread today, but I would want... I feel like if Gary Oldman hasn't won yet, he deserves a win, but...
I just feel like I don't want Gary Oldman to win for this. I don't know. It's not that he looks bad in the movie. It just feels like such a cookie-cutter biopic movie, and Gary Oldman's done so much other stuff that I wish he would have won for. It's not that I don't want him to win. I just feel like... Man, it's I want him to do something outside of because he's so good at doing crazy roles, and this just feels like such a standard.
The thing is, I think
Oscar.
That's kind of the idea, is it doesn't look anything like him.
Yeah, that's true. I think who I want to win, who I would pick is Daniel Day-Lewis. He's phenomenal in Phantom Thread.
I still think he's gonna win.
Yeah, he would be my second prediction choice, but I just feel like they're going to give it to this Timothée Chalamet. So we'll see who's right there. All right, actor in a supporting role. We have Willem Dafoe for The Florida Project, Woody Harrelson for Three Billboards, Richard Jenkins in Shape of Water, Christopher Plummer in All the Money in the World, and Sam Rockwell in Three Billboards. Who do you have any?
I think, man, I could see Christopher Plummer winning just as like a big FU to Kevin Spacey, but I feel like Willem Dafoe is going to win.
I think I'm going Christopher Plummer too. I just think I feel like the narrative is just too good.
Yeah,
there.
I mean Kevin Spacey's going to be at home watching, just like hating his life.
Yeah, I know. He's like, oh my god. Yeah, I wonder what he's doing right now. Is he in rehab or something?
I'm pretty sure if he's not in rehab, that's what he's saying at least.
Yeah, he's off the grid.
He's definitely off the grid. I mean,
all right. So, this is a tough. Who I want to win is tough because there's two names that I'm throwing around here. I loved Willem Dafoe in The Florida Project. He is, out of this list, he's the one that I would pick. I thought he was amazing in that. Did you see that one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, Willem Dafoe is so good in it. He basically just plays. Well, we'll get to it. It's going to make an appearance on my list later, so I'll talk about it. But I think who I would pick is Michael Shannon in The Shape of Water.
Oh, really? Because I would have picked Richard Jenkins over him.
I thought Michael Shannon was so good as that bad guy. I just thought I would have nominated. I thought Richard Jenkins was really good too, but I thought Michael Shannon was just amazing in that. And I like him in general. I think he's just a really good actor.
I think he's really underrated.
Pretty much. He's very underrated. So that'd be my selection. All right, actress in a leading role, we have Sally Hawkins in Shape of Water, Frances McDormand in Three Billboards, Margot Robbie in I, Tonya, Saoirse Ronan. How do you say her name?
I used to know. I think it's like.
I know. I've heard it a bunch of times.
I used to know. I
just
don't know.
Can't.
Well, we're sorry. We don't know.
All right, it's Miss Ronan for Lady Bird and Meryl Streep for The Post.
Saoirse?
It's something like that. Saoirse. Yeah, that might be it.
All right. Well, anyway.
But even that
Miss
doesn't.
Ronan.
Dude, I have no idea for this. Who I think is going to win.
I think Frances McDormand is going to win, but I think it's going to be. Oh God, Meryl Streep is up.
Dude, Meryl Streep is she's like Daniel.
Man, she can do anything to get nominated.
I mean, she's like Daniel Day-Lewis, where whenever she's nominated, it's like,
she's like totally overrated compared to him.
Yeah,
I feel like it's still going to Frances McDormand because she is an amazing actress and she gets a lot of respect from the Academy. But I mean, Tonya Harding they really went nuts over that I, Tonya movie. So Margot Robbie could win. Miss Ronan could win because Lady Bird's a hot article.
Yeah, she's like the female version of Timothée Chalamet in terms of her profile right now.
I mean, Sally Hawkins was amazing in Shape of Water. I would be totally fine with her winning.
Well, Sally Hawkins is my personal pick. I thought she was amazing in that.
I mean, considering she played in Mute, I mean, that was...
Yeah, I thought she was incredible. So that's who I would pick. I don't feel like she's going to win. She just feels like not the Academy's choice. I feel like... So I'm going to go Frances McDormand.
Yeah, me too. That's who I think is going to win.
All right. Actress in a supporting role, we have Mary J. Blige in Mudbound, Allison Janney in I, Tonya, Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread, Laurie Metcalf and Lady Bird, and Octavia Spencer in Shape of Water.
That's tough.
This is a tough one. I'm between who I think is going to win. I don't know. For some reason, I feel like Allison Janney's going to win for I, Tonya. I didn't see it.
I mean, I don't think Octavia Spencer did anything to warrant a nomination, so...
I actually thought she was good. I mean, I just generally like her. I don't know what it is.
I just don't.
Like,
I mean, I thought she was good, but I didn't think. I mean, I guess this is like a weak category, unfortunately.
You know who I think who I would pick is Leslie Manville in Phantom Thread. I think she was the. Oh, you didn't get to watch that one yet. She plays Daniel Day-Lewis's sister, and she's really good. She kind of. They live in this boarding house together where he has his dress business, and it's just a really interesting relationship they have. So I think Allison Janney's going to win, but I want Leslie Manville to win.
What are we doing next? Cinematography?
Yes, we'll do cinematography. Should we just both say Blade Runner for both?
I don't know. I mean, Dunkirk is like really close. Actually, I think I would just go Dunkirk.
Would you pick that, or you think that's going to win?
I would pick Dunkirk. I mean, Shape of Water had amazing cinematography too. All three of them I would be fine with.
Yeah,
winning.
so Blade Runner, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Mudbound, and Shape of Water were all nominated, and yeah, I think they were like Dunkirk, Blade Runner, and Shape of Water were incredible to me cinematography wise,
all for different reasons too.
Yeah, they were very different, but I'm going Blade Runner for both my. I want it to win, and I think it. will.
I guess thinking back,
especially
maybe it was a little better,
especially since it's at Roger Deakins, and he's never won an Oscar before, and he's done so many amazing movies. Like I feel like the narrative is there for him to win too. So that's
a tough category.
That is though. Dunkirk. That cinematography in Dunkirk was amazing.
You know what else we should do is production design, because this has some. It has pretty much all the same movies, but I feel like it's just as tough.
Yeah, let me find.
It's right here. It's Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, and Shape of Water.
I think I'd probably go Shape of Water.
Yeah, I feel like it's like Dunkirk had like the really historically accurate. I actually feel like I might go Shape of Water, and then Blade Runner obviously had the awesome aesthetic. It's like all three of those movies were just so amazing in that term.
Yeah, the visuals and all those were incredible. All right, so directing, we have Mr. Nolan for Dunkirk. We have Jordan Peele for Get Out, Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, and Guillermo del Toro for Shape of Water. Ooh, this is
I
don't know, man.
You know, it's interesting because did you see that thing came out that was accusing del Toro of plagiarizing Shape of Water?
I did.
I think he was a shoo-in before that. I don't know if that's going to affect it or not.
You know who's going to win is, and it's not. I like the movie, but Jordan Peele is going to win for Get Out.
I actually did see that, and it was just like it was okay.
I did. I really liked it. It almost made my list, but I just feel like I can tell he's going to win.
For me, it was literally a steaming pile compared to the other movies on this list. But I didn't think it was bad, but the amount of praise it's getting.
I did that. I thought it was really good. I was a little disappointed, not disappointed, but I just thought the ending was a little formulaic for me. It just kind of felt like it wrapped up in a way that was just, I was cool with it, but it just didn't feel as interesting as the rest of the movie. But I feel like he's going to win for directing.
The Shape of Water won Best Picture. Did it win Best Director at Golden Globes? Because I think it did.
I think that's who I would pick. That's who I want to win is Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, I think I would be cool with that. It would be either that or Nolan, but I don't even like Nolan, but he did a really good job.
Yeah, I don't want him to win though.
Yeah. I had some problems with Shape of Water, to be honest. I liked it a lot, but
all right.
Do we want to do Best Picture?
I guess we could. Oh, how did I forget about Best Picture? All right. Well, I guess we could do you want to do score? I guess we could do score
yeah, we
too.
Could do score. I know what we're going to pick.
All right. So we got Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, Shape of Water, Star Wars, and 3 Billboards. Blade Runner didn't get nominated for score?
Yeah, that's really shocking. Off of that list, actually I might go Dunkirk. I really like Dunkirk's score.
Off of this list, I would go with Phantom Thread. I love the score in that. It's so good. It's like this little it's this little jazzy piano score, but it's so amazing with that movie. I can't even describe it. It just fits it so well. But I think, I don't know. I don't really know what I think is going to win there.
Yeah, I think that's a good toss-up. You got Hans Zimmer and John Williams on there, so.
Yes, it could be either one of those. I thought the score in Star Wars was shit.
Yeah, personally. It literally if it won, it would only be because it's a Star Wars movie and nothing else.
It literally just name recognition, and I love the movie, but the score was terrible or was not memorable. All right, I guess you want to do Best Picture. So we have Call Me by Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards.
I already know what you're picking as your favorite off of this list.
Man, I didn't. Blade Runner was not nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, well, it's a science fiction movie, so it's like hard pressed.
Like I'm just looking at some of these nominations. I can't believe Blade Runner was not. I can't believe The Post and Lady Bird and Get Out were nominated, and Darkest Hour was nominated as a Best Picture, and Blade Runner wasn't. That's BS.
It's because it's sci-fi, dude. They hate sci-fi.
Yeah, well. All right.
So who are you picking? Who do you think's gonna win?
I think Call Me by Your Name is gonna win.
Man, it's like if the Golden Globes are an indicator, then it's gonna be The Shape of Water. It's like
well, I think Call Me by Your Name is going to steal it, and I want Shape of Water to win. So
yeah, I mean, I think
What
off
do
of
you
that
think?
list,
What do you think?
that would be cool. Shape of Water as my favorite, but I think I like Dunkirk a little bit better. But I think Shape of Water was a more complete movie.
yeah, I
I mean, it
loved
definitely
it.
had better performances by far.
Yeah. Alrighty, so those are our Oscar predictions. Let's see. We'll see how we do. All right, I guess we want to finish this thing off with our much anticipated.
Yeah, I'm
list.
just doing 9 because I plan on putting Phantom Thread
Yeah.
on here, so I'm saving a spot for that because I know it would have made it.
Yeah, I think knowing your taste, like I think you would have put it on.
So you can do your 10 and 9, and then I'll do my 9.
All right, so my number 10 is Darren Aronofsky's Mother,
Ooh.
which I know was a very, very controversial movie. Many people didn't like it. Got mixed reviews. It got a Razzie Award for some BS, but I really enjoyed it. I love Darren. I pretty much love everything Darren Aronofsky does, and it was a really interesting movie. It's been a long time since I've seen it now, so it's hard for me to talk in depth about a lot of the themes and all that stuff that was present. And I thought the main metaphor and the main theme was pretty heavy-handed, but it was just done really well and really interesting. Ed Harris is in this movie, and he literally just cracked me up every line he said. He basically plays this visitor that comes to Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem recently moving to this house, and they start getting these random visitors just appearing, and Ed Harris is one of them, and he just, some of the shit he says is so good. And yeah, visually it was awesome. I thought the performances were really good despite any Razzie Awards. Like, it's a freaking joke to me that they got those. So I really enjoyed it. And my number 9 was Baby Driver, which I just had a blast with it. I mean, it wasn't, I haven't seen it again since I saw it in theaters. But it was just pretty much just a thrill ride for me seeing that in the movies. I had a really good time with it. I thought the performances were pretty good. It was colorful. I love the action. It, just push my buttons.
All right, so my number 9, I didn't see a lot of good movies this year, so this list has a couple of movies that probably shouldn't be on her. My number 9 was The Last Jedi, which I didn't even like it, but I feel like I should just put it on here.
Yeah, it's on there. I'm glad it made an appearance.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about it. I hated it. Well, I didn't hate it, but I did hate it.
We did a whole episode on that, so refer to that.
Time will tell.
All right. My number 8 is Personal Shopper, which is a movie with Kristen Stewart which I never thought a movie with Kristen Stewart as the lead would make my top 10 list, but it was really interesting. It's basically, she's a personal shopper, so she basically buys clothes and just items for a celebrity. You don't really get to know the celebrity, and she lives in Paris, and in her spare time, she's a psychic, or not I don't know if it's a psychic, but she communicates with the dead, so she's sort of a medium. So she goes to these different haunted houses and makes contact with spirits and things like that. And it's just a weird movie because on one hand, it's almost this kind of sad portrait of this person, just kind of living in mostly isolation in Paris, but there's some great visuals with Paris. It rains a lot. It's just really cool. A lot of nighttime scenes in the city, which are just cool. But then it also has this supernatural element, which I thought worked really well too. And it just, tonally, this movie, I can't even really peg it down, but it's just really interesting to watch. I thought the conclusion was pretty interesting. And Kristen Stewart is actually really good in it, which, color me shocked. I did not think I was going to love this movie, but I really, really liked it. So, Personal Shopper.
All right. My number 8 is Alien Covenant, which also maybe shouldn't belong on this list, but I mean, I feel like in terms of science fiction, I just loved it. And I mean,
I was thinking about it.
It was pretty scary. It was like, the science fiction was all good. The acting from Michael Fassbender was good. And there were some scenes in there that were as tense as anything I've ever seen. So,
see, just in a really broad way, it reminds me of Annihilation, and the fact that I loved some scenes in the movie, and I had a lot of issues with it, but there are some real standout scenes in that movie. I mean, it's
yeah,
good.
For me, there were some way better scenes in Annihilation, specifically thinking of like 2, but yeah, still.
Yeah, they're very different movies, but just in a broad sense, they are similar to me. My number 7 is Last Jedi. So I loved it. I thought it was really good. I mean, again, I don't have too much to say about it. We really like broke this thing down to its essential core in our Star Wars episode, but I thought Luke was awesome. I like most of the main characters. I just don't really care for that subplot about the casino, and the score was weak, but other than that, I thought it was really good. So yeah, Last Jedi.
My number 7 is actually 1922, which I had to think long and hard about how much I like this movie, but I just feel like I thought about this movie for a couple of days after I saw it because it was so unbelievably depressing. That's the thing. It's not really that scary, but it is so depressing.
Yeah, I really want to check this thing out. I mean,
I'm just warning you, will be depressed after watching this.
Man,
because I mean, it's all about like guilt and how this guy carries his guilt, and like it's hard to watch like his life fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really depressing just based on the synopsis of it. So was that your 7?
Number 7.
All right, my number 6 is Dunkirk. I really I loved it. I mean, the visuals were awesome. It was just, I think the lack of dialogue really worked for me in a Nolan movie because his dialogue is oftentimes one of the things that I hate the most about his movies. So the fact that it was just sparse dialogue and just, really pragmatic dialogue worked for me. The cinematography was incredible. I liked the score. I liked the way the 3 timelines converged, and Tom Hardy's final plane scene I thought was really, really amazing. So yeah, just a great film there.
Yeah. So my number 6 is Hostiles, which actually it premiered last year and felt kind of like I shouldn't put it on this list, but I was struggling to get enough movies on here. So it's like,
it's all good. I mean, I'm sure there's a long debate about what year certain movies are released, but we'll
I
let
think that
slide.
they premiered it last year to try and get Oscar contention. It just didn't get nominated for anything, which I'm surprised because I feel like the production design was warranted an Oscar nomination because it was good enough. The costumes and stuff were definitely good enough.
Yeah, I remember reading something about it was trying to be pushed for an Oscar, but or like it was released last year, but it's one of those ones that's, put it on your list because it's fine. I mean, I'm sure it premiered plenty places last year.
Yeah, hopefully this year I won't be doing this.
Yeah, it's all good. We got our movie passes now, so we're going to be seeing lots of... My number 5 is not Shape of Water, Florida Project, which I just watched this a couple days ago and I really liked it. It's basically charts. There's really not much plot. I mean, it's basically just life in this kind of rundown, depressed motel that lies right near Magic Kingdom in Disney World. So it's basically just the juxtaposition of these poor people living their day-to-day lives right next to all the wealth and pomp of Disney World. And it's just really, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of, I mean, there is some commentary there, but it basically just genuinely focuses on these people's lives that live there and, doesn't treat them negatively. It just charts their day-to-day lives. And Willem Dafoe is so freaking good in this movie. Like he basically just plays the maintenance man for the motel, and the movie basically just follows every day in the lives of the people that live there. So the main characters are this little girl and her friends, and what they do. They get in all kinds of trouble. They steal from places and just minor things. And it's basically, and the main girl's mom is really like a mess. Like her life is a wreck. She, can't get a job. She can't really afford to do anything. She has to scam perfume and try to sell perfumes at Magic Kingdom to rich people to get money to pay rent. And it's Willem Dafoe just going about his day, fixing things, and also at the same time he has a soft spot for the kids. So all kinds of bad shit happens in the motel, and he basically uses his imagination to, kind of, even though the kids are already mature beyond their years, he kind of tries to shield them from the harsh realities of the world. And it's really, really good. And the cinematography is really good too. But Willem Dafoe is just amazing in that.
Yeah, I definitely need to see it.
Yeah, it's good. All right, what's your
my number 5 is Baby Driver, which I definitely like this movie way more than I expected. It's definitely just got like some of the best car chases I've seen in a very long time. I mean, it's just like in terms of like, you know, thrills and action, it was amazing. And it had, you know, good performances. So
yeah, it's just a fun movie. Like, yeah, I liked it. My number 4 is Phantom Thread, which yeah, it's been a little while since I've seen this one too, but Daniel Day-Lewis, there's 3 central performances in it. It's Daniel Day-Lewis as this dressmaker, and what is his name? Reynolds Woodcock is his name. The names are just so good in this, and then it's his wife and his sort of new love interest, and it's basically verbal sparring between the 3 of them the whole movie, and the score is amazing. The visuals are awesome. I mean, it's just a really good movie. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson usually makes good ones, though sometimes I'm not his biggest fan either. Like, I thought There Will Be Blood was really good, but that was a movie like I watched it once and I didn't really want to watch it again as much as I respected it. This movie I could definitely watch again. It's a really watchable, interesting movie, and some of the food scenes in it are so good. There's one scene where Daniel Day-Lewis orders breakfast, and it's like the most fascinating scene you'll ever see. He orders this huge breakfast at this little cafe, and it's just, I don't know what about it is so good, but you just need to see it. So let me know what you think when you end up watching it. We'll talk about that on a later episode.
I'll probably have that in the next day or two. So
yeah. All right. What do you got for 4?
My number 4 is The Shape of Water, which I finally watched it, and I liked it a lot, but I feel like kind of looking at it.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Some of the things maybe it was trying to say didn't sit that well with me. So, I mean, the cinematography, the production design, the acting was all really good, but I don't know. I just feel like it was saying some things I didn't like that much. So,
all right. Well, we can get into that a little bit because it's going to show up again on my list. All right, number 3 for me is Blade Runner 2049. I loved it. I mean, this is like one of those movies that it's pressing all my buttons that I love. I mean, Ryan Gosling is in it. He's playing a character that doesn't have a whole lot of dialogue. I mean, the production design, the visuals, the cinematography are just exactly what I love in movies with the neon, and, you know, everything about that appealed to me. I wasn't crazy. What was it that I didn't, because I feel like we didn't really like the same stuff in this movie. It was kind of slow
paced in the beginning.
Yeah, there was some slow pacing. I wasn't crazy about some of the plot stuff.
Oh, yeah, the plot was a little just like...
Yeah, the plot was a little mangled, but overall, I loved it. I mean, it hit too many marks for me to not love it. So I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it, but it's still amazing. All right, what do you got?
My number 3 is The Disaster Artist, which... I actually did not like this movie nearly as much as I expected to, because I love The Room.
I know. I still haven't seen either one, and I
can tell you that you don't need to watch The Room first, but you still should.
I want to. I don't know why I've been putting that off. I'm sure I could find it somewhere on the internet pretty easily, but So you liked it,
basically,
but didn't love it?
James Franco puts in like the performance of a lifetime. I mean, he just pulls his weight like you wouldn't believe, but it's like, all of the funny things about the story, it's like they just didn't hit them as much as they could have. Like, the movie was a comedy, but it was also, there was a lot of drama in it. I mean, and it was like, they didn't spend as much time on the filming as I expected. And it was like, that's the most interesting thing about the movie. Because, I mean, you know, when he was on set, he was just like, you know, he filmed the movie in HD and on film at the same time because he didn't understand. Like, he did all this stupid stuff during production, and it's like he was always fighting with his crew. Like, he wouldn't pay for air conditioning, so like one of the actors passed out.
Oh my god. Wasn't there like isn't there a big mystery about how he got the money to film it or something?
Well, they know how he got the money. It's like, well, they don't know, but it's like it even says it in the movie. Nobody knows where he got his money. He used to own this, or still does own this company called Street Fashions USA, and it's like he was even advertising his company on TV. And also, people think that he like bought up all this land in San Francisco like a long time ago and then sold it because it got really valuable. The other thing is like in the movie too, like he never will admit, like they're always like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm your age. Like talking to Dave Franco, who's like in his 20s, and he's like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then he's like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "New Orleans." And they can't even understand when he says New Orleans. Yeah,
New Orleans.
There's actually a scene at the very end of the credits where the real Tommy Wiseau and him have a conversation, and it's so good. I mean, he just he carries that movie, and it's a good movie, but he puts that movie on his shoulders, and like every scene he's in, he's just captivating. And it's like, I mean, did he not get nominated for the Oscar? That is literally disgusting. Because I mean, once you watch it, you will just see that that is a performance of a lifetime.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm excited to see it. I think I'm more excited to see the room itself, but I'm excited to see both.
I don't know. I feel like the way I watched The Room, I laughed at some stuff, but it's like I feel like the way they handled it, like, I don't know, felt kind of disingenuous. Like in the beginning, they have all these like couple famous actors and directors like talking about The Room, and it felt like they were very condescending and patronizing towards Tommy Wiseau, like, oh, he's an auteur and nobody else can make this movie. But it's like, you know, it's a stupid movie that sucks, and it's like, you don't think that. I don't know why you're saying that. Like, you know, this movie's a joke, but it's like the way they were talking about it, I don't know, felt very pretentious.
Were they trying to like act like it was a secret masterpiece
they were trying
or something?
To say it was like a masterpiece of comedy, like, you know, it was so bad it's good. But the way they talked about it to me just felt very patronizing. And I mean, that was how it happened. Like, he goes to the premiere of the movie, and like everybody's laughing, he gets really upset and leaves. But then he kind of accepts that people like it because even as a comedy. But it's like the way they were responding. I doubt that they acted that way during the premiere because they went nuts. And it's like, I know people have built a cult following over time, but I doubt that during the premiere of the movie that people were that nuts over it.
Yeah, something tells me they weren't freaking out over this movie at the,
it's funny and you'll laugh, but I mean, and there's actually Zac Efron is in like 2 scenes, and I literally love the one scene he's in. I didn't even know it was him. That was a joke that you didn't know it was Zac Efron. And I hate Zac Efron,
man.
I was shocked.
I do too, man. I really do. I gotta say, I saw. You know what we need to do an episode on is that Greatest Showman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because people were, I did not like it at all. And people were, everybody loved that movie. And I just, and Zac Efron to me was just like High School Musical Zac Efron in that. But you know what I do want to see him in, especially after you mentioned he was good in The Disaster Artist, is he's coming in he's doing a Harmony Korine movie this year called Beach Bum, where I guess he and McConaughey are like, I don't know if they're like surfers or something, but it looks weird as anything.
I think he's playing Ted Bundy coming up too.
Yeah, that could be interesting too. I mean, yeah, I'm hoping Beach Bum because it's by the guy who did Spring Breakers, so I'm hoping it's we love that. I actually like that more and more I actually want to watch that.
It definitely has a high level of rewatchability.
It definitely does. So, all right, what are we at? 2 for me? All right, my number 2 is Good Time, which I don't know, man. This was close to number 1 for me. It was so good. I don't know if you heard about it. It's Robert Pattinson.
Yeah, I heard
actually,
about it.
He should have been nominated. He's another one. Like, I can't believe he and Kristen Stewart are both in my top 10, but he's so good in this movie. It's basically the story of it's like a one night kind of movie. The whole movie is set over one day and night. Robert Pattinson is kind of a drug dealer, and I think they're in New York or some big city. And he gets his brother who is kind of challenged, and he gets him to rob a bank with him. And the brother ends up getting caught, and he gets beaten up in prison. So he's at this hospital. So or beaten up in the holding area or whatever, like the stage before you go to county or whatever it is. So it's basically one night where Robert Pattinson is trying to get his brother out of jail. So it tracks him trying to get money, and because he has no money, so he's doing all this nefarious stuff to try to get money and going to all these old contacts and appease the bail bonds guy. And then it's just, he ends up breaking his brother out of the hospital, or who he thinks is his brother, but it turns out to be another guy. And it's funny, it's disturbing, it's fun, it's just a great movie. And Robert Pattinson gives an amazing performance because he's like this fast talking guy who can kind of get out of any scenario, and just some of the situations he gets into are ridiculous, and the way he's such a good talker that you actually believe the way he's getting in and out of these situations. And it's amazing. I mean, the score is great. There's some an amazing scene in this amusement park where the visuals are crazy good, and it's just there's one scene where he's about to get captured at this amusement park. The cops show up, so he basically has this whole vial of acid with him, this like super potent acid that he was going to sell to get money. And so the security guy there, he ends up just like punching out the security guy or like knocking him to the ground, and then he pours all the acid into the guy's mouth. And it's like, and so then he takes the guy's clothes off and changes into the security gear, so he pretends he's a security guy, and the cops are like trying to get this the real security guy to talk, to let him know what's going on, and he literally is just like he's just like making noises and just like freaking out and like shaking. It's just a great movie, man. You gotta check it out. It's something out. It's something else. That's my number 2.
All right. My number 2 is Dunkirk. I don't. Was this on your list?
Yeah, it was number 5 or 6.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about all the reasons this movie was amazing. It's a really good movie. It's just visually, it's just so perfect.
I gotta give it to Nolan. That's the one movie of his that I love. Is Dunkirk.
And so I know what your number 1 is.
Yeah, so my number 1 is Shape of Water, which I loved. It just hit all my marks. I mean, I thought Sally Hawkins was super good in it. Michael Shannon to me was a scene stealer as the bad guy. I thought Richard Jenkins I thought all the performances were amazing. And I liked the score. I liked the visuals were incredible. And I liked that it was just so weird. Like it felt sometimes Guillermo del Toro's movies get a little whimsical, and this it had some of that in there, but it also wasn't afraid to go really dark, and it just pushed the limit. I mean, especially when she freaking has sex with that sea creature. Like I was so happy that happened, because it just went over the edge. I was even kind of uncomfortable watching it in the theater, and you could sense that other people were uncomfortable, but I just ended up, I'm so glad that he just pushes the limit with it, because it works. I don't know how, but somehow that relationship just works for me, and yeah, I just love it.
I'll tell you what scene I really loved was when he's in the Cadillac dealership.
That scene was so good. Oh my God. Yeah, where he's buying the Cadillac. Even the scene where he's driving home afterwards in it. It's just, and like he sees the young people and they're like waving at him. He's like, yeah. It's so good. And that scene with Michael Shannon where it rips his finger off, where he's giving that speech about the Philistines, like it's so good. I loved it. What was your?
I think my big problem was actually I thought Michael Shannon's character was just too over the top. Like I didn't like what they made him into, honestly. Like I feel like he didn't need to be so weird and just like, I don't know, like just like the way he was with his wife and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of I don't know if cartoony villain's the right word, but he's a really out there.
I feel like he was just too over the top, and it's like they just took him too far for me, and I didn't like that. Like, here's this guy,
I guess,
with a family, normal family, but oh wait, he's also like a sicko.
I guess for me, it's I think it's the performance that saves it. I feel like in the hands of someone else that it wouldn't have worked for me, but I feel like he just sells it for me. I don't know. And I can understand what you're saying, but for me, it really works because I think mostly because of the performance, but I don't know. Yeah, I just loved it. So, alrighty. I guess what's your number 1?
Which I didn't even want to make it my number 1, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I love this movie, but I also didn't like a lot, but I just didn't see anything that I could put above it. That's all it came down to. So
that's kind of how I felt too with Blade Runner. Like it's one of those weird movies where I loved it, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it. I thought this was going to be breaking, new ground for me in terms of movies. I thought this was going to be top 5 all time for me right off the bat, and it wasn't that. But it was still, on a given year like this year, it was still amazing, and I still have to put it way up there on my list, and I can totally understand putting that number 1, but it also just, I think, was a little, maybe even a little disappointing compared to what we wanted.
Yeah, it definitely was missing some things.
Yeah, but still good. Alrighty, well, we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, this was a big episode.
It's a nice little 2:30 a.m. here on the East Coast, so I guess it's time to wrap this bad boy up. All right, that's it, guys. So thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with a review of Mute. Probably just Mute. We'll see, but stay
we'll also
tuned for
give
that.
like our opinions on the Oscars.
Yeah, we'll be doing some Oscar reaction stuff, so it's going to be another great episode. Alrighty, so everybody follow us on Facebook. We're at the Serious Film Critics. Like our page and, do all that stuff. Keep sending us your emails at seriousfilmcritics@gmail.com, like Jared from Kansas last week did.
Yeah.
And that was a good one. And yeah, follow us on Twitter at serious_critics. So Dave, it's been real, and we'll be back next week. All right, take it easy, everybody.